Okay.
I just heard Cam start talking about McCormick's vodka, and all I knew was there is no better start to Saturday Night Fever, the cold open, the whole thing, than going into absolute rank ass liquor. Like
I will say
that was the right
again,
way.
I don't-
Yeah. There's only one way to do this, and we're starting out the exact right way.
Love it.
So once again, this is Saturday Night Fever. This is the Week 8 recap for Basketball Conference. You'll notice that it is not just myself and Mike McDaniel. It is also Mr. Cam Underwood. And you might also notice producer Scott with us. But speaking of rank liquor, Cam wanted to come join the show after how Miami played today. I don't know if we have to start there necessarily. Mike, you're the cruise director, so you know.
We're starting there. We're starting there. Miami had 8 turnovers. That was the most in a Power 5 football game since 2007, Scott, that's correct? Most in the Power 5 games
2009. Sorry.
I'm trying to figure out how that's like mathematically possible. Like,
I'm going to try to
how?
find the last game. Don't worry.
Yes, most in a Power 5 game since 2009, most in an FBS game since 2017. Those are two marks you don't want to hit. What was it? 5 fumbles, 3 interceptions, Cam?
Those are
unreal.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And it's Duke, right? And like Duke's it's been a nice story in year 1 for Elko and company, but come on now.
Yeah, it was bad. And when we hopped on the mic before we started, Joey asked, how, whatever, and I said, yeah, no, or how many? I said, yeah, ESPN 8, the Ocho, like that's and that was it, bro, and honestly, sorry.
Would that be an upgrade from Jefferson Pilot that this game was on, by the way?
Yeah, right.
I guess, I don't know. Shout out to Raycom Sports and everything, but yeah.
Oh man, Raycom Sports, baby.
Hey, the regional sports network. And whenever we get to one of those, I'm like, I have to remember, like, okay, what regional sports network exists currently to carry that? So Valley Sports South was that. But yeah, this was almost, and for a couple seconds, it was actually 9 turnovers. Jake Garcia threw an interception on a 4th down that was overturned. That became just a turnover on downs for a failed 4th down conversion attempt when he threw the ball directly to a safety, basically. And yeah, so it was 8 turnovers, as you said, and there were also 2 failed 4th down conversion attempts, if you want to count those as turnovers, and the first one was deep in their territory, so I tend to do that. You could make the case that it was actually 10 turnovers. We were doing a lot of researching in the press box amongst all of us who were there and everything. Miami threw 7 interceptions in consecutive games to end the 1944 season. They also lost 6 fumbles in a game in each of the decades of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So they were putrid in 1944. So the University of Miami was founded in 1925, fielded a team for a while, did not field a team in 43, returned to fielding a team in 44, in case anybody is wondering. So this is the first year back for them, and then they threw 7 interceptions against Tulsa and then Texas A&M to finish that season. If they turned the ball over additionally, then that would either be as many as today or more. So like I can't guarantee 100%, and I scoured the internet trying to find the full box scores for all 5 of these games with other multiple turnover giveaways, and couldn't find them. But I'm comfortable saying that this is at least a modern record since 1980 in terms of the number of turnovers. And I mean, it's bad. Like, Tyler Van Dyke hurts his shoulder, his throwing shoulder. He gets sacked onto his throwing shoulder by 2 dudes. So, forcing
collarbone, right? Gotta be.
Collarbone, AC joint, separated shoulder. I mean, like, he was on the ground, and when I say not moving, like, I mean not moving. And, people are talking in the press box. I'm like, you need to look, because 9 is down. Like, I mean, he wears number 9. My quarterback is down and everything. So then he goes out, and Jake Garcia showcases a good arm, but also, he threw 2 touchdowns. But he also threw the ball to the other team 3 or 4 times, and things like that. And I mean, this team full on Clemson 58-0 game quit in the fourth quarter. Like,
he actually threw 3 touchdown passes. The problem is one of them was to Duke.
Exactly, he threw a pick 6 to Duke. So, but he found the end zone a few couple times. Exactly, but I mean, like, Miami was
makes things happen. Let's go.
Miami was up in this game, 21-17 in the third. Duke scores the final 28 points. It ends up as a blowout loss. I mean, and it was funny because I'm like, well, this score means the stands are going to empty. And then there was another one. Okay, then they're emptying. And then the pick 6 happened. That was the final one. And then, like, even the most diehard, I'm going to stay to the end of the game and fuck y'all people. We're like, all right, man. Like, look, I'm going home. It was there's so much broken, and I don't even know where to start fixing it. And
nobody's nobody's going to mistake Jake Garcia for Jeff Garcia. Like, that's my takeaway. All right.
Well, I mean,
is that his dad or
this
like
was bad?
Jeff Garcia is a better quarterback overall, but like Jake Garcia actually has like a passable arm, so you can actually run routes that are deeper than 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, which you could not do with the Jeff Garcia quarterback team. But like, it just, if you get into the minutia of things, well, first of all, Miami cannot run the ball. You're talking 2.5, 3 yards a carry before you take away the sack yardage, which ended up making it 1.5 yards a carry. Look, you got to be able to do something running the ball, but you cannot do that. Then, and I got to go back and look at these plays to see like the structure and see, okay, maybe there's a reading from right to left or whatever the progression is. But I'm just watching in the press box. I'm just seeing them run the plays, and I saw at least 3 instances of somebody running a shallow cross from offense's right to offense's left, so across the face that way of the quarterback, open by 3 steps, and they don't throw it to him. I'm like, Jacoby George, if you hit him in stride with a middle linebacker chasing a wide receiver for the Miami Hurricanes, he's catching that, turning that up, and that's a first down, if not a touchdown. But I don't know if it was too long of a throw, or it's a thing where you only feel comfortable throwing the left to right crosser, which is coming into your arm side open window or whatever. But I'm like, there are dudes open. So like, what are we doing? We get that first down on the drive, we're going to go at tempo and everything. But then it just, the defense had short field after short field. I'm not against the decision to go for it on 4th downs because I like the aggression, even though you did it on the first and second drives of the game, which hint to a level of panic overall, I think, from the coaching staff, because like they're not like, Cristobal is not that dude where you're like, yo, this is coming apart at the seams, so we're going to do that because we have to do that to try to win, But then you run inside zone, which has gotten 1.5 yards on average all year long, and then it's a long one, and you get stuffed, and then turn the ball over, and it just, turn the ball over on downs, not one of the, ESPN 8, the Ocho turnovers we actually gave to them. Poor tackling. It's just, look, I'll put it to you like this. I was talking to my boy Fred, who I used to host a podcast with, and if anybody doesn't know, like, bowl eligibility means 6 wins. Like, you have to do that to get there. And I said, so you need 3 of the next 5. That's Virginia, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Pittsburgh. You need 3 of those 5. Where are you finding 3? And he goes, well, Georgia Tech,
I'm not finding 3.
Is probably, okay. I said Georgia Tech. Look, now, Joey, I agree. That's what I said. I said, I'm not putting that in stone at all. But, Fred, if you want to do that.
I didn't say anything. I just gave you a look. Like,
I know. No. I'm literally telling you what he told me. That look that you gave is the look that I had on the phone. I said, Fred, you're putting that in stone, 10 Commandments coming down from the mountain style? He said, yeah. All right, Moses, lead me there. But so he says Georgia Tech and maybe Virginia, but Florida State, Clemson, and Pittsburgh is lost. And I said,
yeah.
So you got one. You have one in a possible out of 5, and you need a firm 3. You need a strong 3 to get to bowl eligibility. Look, this season is going to end in December. Like, this, I don't see bowl eligibility now. And if you were going to get to 6, today against Duke had to be one of them 6. And you find a way not even to lose that, but get blowed out and and to the point where, like, I'm in the press box and I was listening to a different game as I was writing Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and I hopped in our DM on Twitter and I said, "Bring me back on the show," in all caps, because I gotta talk about this. This is terrible, bro. Like, it's so bad. And I'm gonna leave you with this because I know I've been on this soliloquy for a minute.
You got to, though.
I'm going to leave you with this, and I'm going to let you react. Y'all ready?
Hit me.
If Manny Diaz was still Miami's coach,
They talked about this last week.
Full stop.
They talked about this last week.
Here we are.
Full
I
stop.
was
Here we
literally
are.
about to ask you that.
Cam. Listen,
5 and 2.
I was gonna save this. I've been workshopping a take on this podcast for a few weeks now, and Joey has jumped aboard the train.
Oh no! This already right now.
Mickey. I've been workshopping a take that for this particular Miami team, they'd be playing a lot better for Manny Diaz. They'd be a lot better coached. They'd be more prepared to play.
Yep.
And the interesting part about this, too, is I've liked the Cristobal hire.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very much in the camp of if Cristobal doesn't work, what's plan
It's
B?
not going to
because
work,
I don't
right.
know what the answer is, right? So
Jimmy Johnson. Bring
I've
him
been
back.
in that camp. And bring back Jimmy Johnson. Like, what are the 83-year-old Jimmy Johnson? Like, what are the options, right? If Manny Diaz,
What's Butch Davis doing?
Sorry, not Manny Diaz. If Butch Davis, yeah. What are the options if Mario Cristobal does not work, right? And I still think it will probably be okay, like long term, I think. But for this particular Miami team, I think they would be in a lot better spot if Manny Diaz was still the coach. And I am taking that workshop take, and we are riding that train, baby. We're riding that train. Because I don't think Miami is making a bowl game either. Miami had... Listen to this real quick. This is from Alex Kirshner. Duke had scoring drives today of 25 yards, 23 yards, 22 yards, and -1 yard. Those are the scoring... Some of the scoring drives for Duke today.
Went backwards and scored.
Went backwards and scored. Like, this is incredible. It's an incredible display of ineptitude by Miami, is what this is.
They also had...
And
their other 2 scoring drives were 56 yards, so not far, and then an 18-play, 79-yard, 9-minute, 22-second absolute just slog. So they had really one drive. Everything else is under 60 yards. Like, that's a lot to ask for the defense. And eventually, it kind of came apart and everything, but just I believe fully that this team would be 5-2 if Manny Diaz were the coach this year. Now, I'm not saying that the recruiting would be as strong. I'm not saying that, moving forward, because these are a lot of Diaz guys, and I think they would play better for him and not quit and things like that. Because a Manny Diaz coach team, they never quit. They would get blown out. They would lose, but they didn't quit. They played hard. They don't lose this game and Middle Tennessee. So we're at 3-4 right now. You take 2 of the losses, you flip them to the wins. That's your 5-2. You probably lose to Carolina because Manny Diaz could not beat Mac Brown to save his life or job, literally. And you probably go in there and you probably don't lose close to Texas A&M. You probably get blowed out. Fine. All right, cool. But 5-2, you can still spin something forward. But I fully believe at this point. And look, you got 5 games left. You got probably, and maybe Fred said it the other way, where Virginia was the assured win and Georgia Tech was the possible. Either way, you got 1 in the possible for my Spades players, and you need 3 to get to bowl eligibility. They're going to have plenty of time to hang out around the facility, go on some dates to South Beach with their girlfriends or whatever the girlfriend of the day is. You know what I mean? Hey, I look.
Might need Plan B, who knows?
I spent all of my spring breaks in college on campus. And my senior year, I went for 3 days to Vegas, or 4 days to Vegas, and then the other half of spring break I spent, around the Miami area. So, like, look, I've had lots of fun doing that and everything. But I'm saying they will not be obligated by any kind of exterior scheduling of planned football game to occupy their time after when the calendar turns to December.
I think it was Paul Johnson at Georgia Tech who talked about some of the guys who maybe weren't as committed to playing with the team and being as good and really working to be good at football. He talked about them as being guys who just, I don't know, they kind of like to, be in the showers with the other guys, that kind of thing. Kind of what it makes me think of is, the guys are just kind of there. They're going through the motions. They wear the jersey and they're able to. They got the swag and the the gear to say, "Hey, I'm a Miami football player." But the question is, like, are you really committed to what that should mean versus what you think it means? I guess.
I think that
this is pretty funny, man.
20-ish, maybe more players, not even with like a foot, but like 2 feet in a suitcase already out the door. Like this is going to be. The culling and turnover of this roster is
guys are just kind of there. They're
so monumental. Like I'm going to have to really like study and be like, okay, like who are the names on this team? Because right now it's like, okay, like I got to learn what Akeem Mesidor, cool, I got that name down. I got to learn Caleb Johnson, I got that name down. You know what I mean? But like, okay, and they fit in kind of around and with the other guys. This is going to be a mercenary squad next year. Like this is going to be learning the names of the gold company from Game of Thrones. Like like all of the individual soldiers. Like it's going to be a very, very different group, and I think that is for sure with the players. But from whispers that I heard in the press box today, that's going to extend to the coaching staff as well. There's going to be lots of new names. Not Mario Cristobal, like 10 years, 85, whatever. Like, no, we're, Jimbo Fisher, pot committed with him. Like, no, we're not, I don't think his contract is fully guaranteed, but whatever the buyout is, way too much. And we have to go through this to get to where we want to go. But I think
John Ruiz ain't that dumb.
No, I think the assistants are going to be out of town.
I did hear the conspiracy theory recently that if you go back and look at Saban's first year at Alabama and they lose to Louisiana Monroe, and the conspiracy theory was that he kind of threw that game as a way to kind of rally the boosters and say, see what this is? Here's why we need your support, is it's this bad.
Yeah.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was brought up in the context.
Wouldn't that have been the Middle Tennessee State game like a few weeks ago?
Thank you, Scott, because that's what I was going to say was that was brought up in the context of the Middle Tennessee State blowout is, well, maybe Cristobal, having been on the Alabama staff, he learned this old trick, and they're going to throw that whole game, and now, here's why we need your support. The thing is, Mario, we get it. You did that once. You don't have to do it again.
I think, and we had this conversation in the press room before Cristobal came in about which loss is worse. To me, infinitely, Middle Tennessee is worse because we tried our level best. We scored late in that game, right? We tried to mount a comeback. Like, there was no quit. There was no, no. They came out and punched us in the mouth again.
Beat that ass.
Again and again. They whooped our
Beat
ass.
that ass.
Real bad, right? Today, first of all, it's a better team. And we quit. Like, you could see it, right? So, like, it took a once-in-73-year passing performance from Middle Tennessee. Now, that was a super-duper outlier, but, like, for a team that averages, like, 8.5 to 9.5 yards per attempt, right, across their quarterback's career, across Stockstill's career there as the coach and everything, they averaged, like, 24.5 an attempt. Right, the number of explosive plays over 60, 70, 80. Like the numbers were so ridiculous. I get where you could say, well, maybe that was the one. They they went for home runs and they hit grand slams every single time. But this one so that one is worse because we tried and they whooped our ass. This one was a worse performance from Miami, but I mean, they're like equally bad in different ways. Like that was a worse loss considering the caliber of opponent and the way that Miami lost. But Miami played in relatively okay game, except for giving up 8 million yards every time that they decided to throw the ball. This game, it's real bad. It's real bad.
Mike, I picked Duke to win this game. This is not what I had in mind.
No.
You had like a 27-24, 31-27 kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't make a score prediction, but I would have said like a one-score game.
Right, well, I'm saying,
maybe 10 points.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 10 points, but yeah, like somewhere between like 4 and 10, probably. Like, I'd say, oh yeah, they won that game. But
I mean, I picked Miami, and my reasoning was, well, they're better. That didn't come to fruition, I would say.
I mean, I won't say were, but like
it can be.
It was a 4-point game at 21-17. Like, yeah, we turned the ball over. We're going back and forth, and then like it was real bad, And like, I don't know, but and I hate to say this, my God, when Florida State comes into Hard Rock Stadium and beats Miami in 2 weeks, sad days. Like I'm assured of that result. Like it's not even a consideration of the possibility of Miami winning that game at this point. Like,
welcome to clean old-fashioned hate over the last 6 years.
What?
Florida State's kind of good, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Florida State's kind of good, man. Like they got.
A mobile quarterback
They've had a tough stretch here.
Yeah.
We got a and he's taking a step forward, passing the ball too.
And he only needs to be passable because, like, one defensive back will quit on a play every now and then, so like you can get an easy touchdown there. And then, Miami decides that it'll take 42 carries like it did for Duke today, but you give up 200 yards rushing. Like 3.8 yards per carry is 3 carries and a first down all the way down the field. Because you're going to get a 4 and a 4 and a 3. Quick maths, that's 11. You need 10, first down, and it keeps moving. So, and Florida State's averaging, 6.5 a carry this year? Like, yeah. And their deep. Oh my God, Jared Verse. Oh Lord, against Miami's offensive line.
Oh boy, that's gonna be a problem.
Oh,
yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
What we did to them with Greg Rousseau and everything a few years ago, like I'm not saying that Jared Verse is Gregory Rousseau. I think Gregory Rousseau is very much better, but Jared Verse could easily be a second, third round draft pick and have a nice long NFL career. But what we did to their offensive line when we had Gregory Rousseau, it's yikes. Yeah.
The one thing
whoever's back there.
The one thing I mentioned on the preview is that the only way I could see Miami like really struggling here and losing this game is if they lost the battle at the line of scrimmage, which I was making an argument. I was making an argument on the preview that Miami's got a lot of talent in a lot of different places on their roster. But the one argument I was making was that Duke wasn't really that far off in the trenches, like going into the game. That was my argument, right? Like Duke's deficient in a lot of areas to Miami's talent level, but in the trenches is not one of them. But I did not foresee this. I mean, Miami had 48 yards rushing today. Now that's not sack adjusted, right? So, factor sacks in and all that. But 48 yards rushing against Duke, come on, man.
Yeah, sack adjusted was like, I think I put it in the good, the bad, the ugly. It was, where are we at? It was in the ugly. Hold on.
While we wait, are you guys ready to talk about 8-win Duke? Just eventually.
26 for 98.
26 for 98 yards.
Was the sack adjusted?
Sack adjusted. So I mean,
3
less than
points.
100 yards rushing on 20. Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. 8-win Duke. Scott just mentioned 8-win Duke. Like that's going to be a thing.
I mean, can we get a more? It needs a more catchy name, like a 9-Windiana. You know, like it needs like a real.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking
You
of
know,
that.
like
I
Cam.
missed that.
real
I'm sorry.
thing, you know.
Gosh,
But
but
no.
right. Their next 3 games at Boston College, home against Virginia Tech, at Pittsburgh.
That's 3 dubs.
At Pittsburgh is
God.
least winnable, and they might win it. Like they might find
Yeah.
themselves like 8-3 going into Thanksgiving weekend.
And they'll give Wake a tough time, I think. I don't think Wake will roll over them that bad.
Give them
I
a
don't-
game for a little while.
I mean, Boston College gave. We'll get into this in a bit, but like Boston College gave Wake a game for a little while today. You're telling me that
Yeah.
Duke can't give Wake a little run? I mean, Duke's got a better offense. That game could be more interesting than I think
Yeah,
we
all those
probably anticipated.
are very winnable for Duke.
They are.
Which,
In Durham.
yeah, boy, well, wow.
I mean, Duke's going to probably end up in the RIP Belk Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, ironically. That's probably where Duke's going to end up, like if they win 8 or 9, right? I mean, that's probably where they're going.
Oh, a bowl game? That would be nice. Like a trip and a vacation and a gift suite and
Well,
like
Cam,
a bag
listen.
of goodies and whatnot.
Cam, it's not all bad. Like if Miami does win 6, they can go to the Sun Bowl.
Miami can go. I have been to El Paso, Texas once in my life, and that was too many times.
I was gonna say, yeah, once too many. Yeah,
No.
once
Hey,
too many.
Look, if you are cursed with the affliction of living or being stationed, because I believe they have some base out there, then look, good for you, and I hope that it goes well. I, myself, personally, will never return to El Paso, Texas. No, absolutely not.
How about
No.
Shreveport? How about Shreveport, Louisiana? Is the Independence Bowl on the table?
Never been, never will.
Yeah.
Ass.
I think those are the two. I think those are the 2 realistic options if Miami were to make a bowl game. I think those are the spots.
I have a comfortable recliner. I have beer and liquor around my apartment. There's a very nice place that makes great wings that I can go either get them from or get delivered from there. I will be perfectly fine, if that were to come to pass, to watch that game from the comfort of my own domicile.
Hell yeah.
Go easy to that.
Well, I think
How did
we.
your guys' teams do today?
I was gonna say, well,
I think Virginia Tech lost the bye week, to be honest.
Virginia Tech lost the bye week. Yeah. We got our coaches.
And I don't
tweeting
think
out
Georgia
stuff
Tech
about-
played today, so let's talk about something else.
Oh, okay. Well, do we want to go back in time,
The
Joey?
Go
Should we
ACC
just,
moment of the week is already up for grabs. I mean,
we
not
already
up for
have-
grabs. It's
we gotta-
laminated.
Well, we got a few different options from that Georgia Tech Virginia game on Thursday night.
You know
and
what play it is. It's the last play.
I think I think it's.
Oh no, not the Eli Rogers at Clemson, Lamar Jackson's last year, when all he had to do was cut it inside and go score and win the game.
No. It's worse than that. So here's the.
I'm just saying that's what it reminded me of, even though it is.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was like that, but no, it's worse. So here's the thing: do you guys think that the ACC moment of the week was him making the play, him stepping in bounds, right? So
It was
so
the quote.
for the uninitiated that didn't watch the game, basically what happened. Jeff Sims hurt in the first half. In the second quarter, Zach Gibson, the transfer from Akron, comes in. He's the backup. Looks like a deer in the headlights. Has like no idea what to do. He's holding onto the ball for forever. Won't get rid of it. He gets sacked like 7 times in this game. It looks horrible. It is so hard to watch. At the end of the day, they get the ball back with like a minute left. They're down 7. So you've got a chance to go down and tie the game, get to overtime. Who knows what happens? Blah 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 blah. They get a few yards. I think they get a first down, a couple things. Basically, he ends up taking a snap from their own 35-yard line with about 6 seconds left. And this play takes forever. So the clock is more than run out. He rolls to his left. He's a right-handed quarterback, by the way, so this is not ideal to begin with. But he rolls to his left, keeps rolling. Time has expired. and finally just pulls the ball down and steps out of bounds, and the game's over. And it was just like super anticlimactic. Like, you're not going to try anything. Like, okay, well, whatever. Well, so that's the obvious Go ACC moment of the week, like, candidate. Except then we get into the post-game press conference. First of all, Brent Key gets up there. He's the head coach. He gets up there.
Read the quote, baby. Read the quotes.
And they say,
I'm putting the quote on the screen. Don't worry.
Yeah, you got it, Scott. So basically, they asked Brent Key. They're like, hey, like, Gibson, like, him stepping out of bounds on the last play, did he just, like, lose track of the clock? And Key says, well, I don't know. I haven't talked to Gibson. I don't know, but I would imagine that something like that has happened. Like, you know, I don't know. I can't speak to him, you know, whatever. So later the players come in, and Gibson is at the podium, and they ask him, like, okay, so did you just lose track of the clock on that final play? And he basically says, no, like, I knew how much time was on the clock, which is to say there was no time on the clock. He basically just says, we had tried a lot of things. You just got to kind of know when you're beaten, and sometimes you just take the L.
Joey, I'll have the quote up on the screen. I'll read it for you if you would like.
Please do.
Zach Gibson's quote says, "No. So what was going through my mind was, I knew we had like 6 or 7 seconds left, and I knew it was time for one last play. And as I evaded the rush and started moving to my left, I looked downfield and just didn't really see a throw at all. I didn't feel like there was anybody to get to in that moment. I can't throw the ball 85 yards, 70 yards. So, I mean, at that point, I just felt like running out of bounds, take the loss. I mean, we can go back and look at it and be like, yeah,
dude,
I should have thrown it. And after talking with the coaches, I should have just given somebody a chance and not just given up on the game at that point. And
yeah,
not that that's what I was doing, but it's not a good look. And I know that,
it's not.
Especially people looking from the stands, watching on TV. Like, why is he running out of bounds? And it is what it is. It's one play. That one play did not affect the entire game. That's all I'm going to say. There were multiple other opportunities for us to get things going, and we shouldn't even have been in that position." End quote.
Cam's face is like exactly what I was doing in that moment when I was reading that. I was like, you said what?
Are you serious?
Like, and he makes the comment. He makes the comment about, like, well, I realize it looks bad for the fans in the stands, whatever. Yeah, you're right. It does. What does it look like to the other guys in the locker room who are looking to you and are trying to play for you and, like, these guys? Like, what the hell, dude? And not to mention, go back to the original question that was asked. The original question that was asked was, did you lose track of time? They gave you the out. Just lie.
Just say
them,
yes.
Yeah, I lost track of time. I don't know. Even though that play went on for like 15 seconds when you only had 6. It doesn't matter. Just lie. Don't say that. Go ACC to that.
I am flabbergasted and shocked. I legitimately did not know. I saw the play. I did not know that quote exists. And
yeah. Unreal.
Send him, like,
to the shadow realm.
His scholarship yesterday. Like, how's that not?
You just quit on behalf of your team. Like,
how do you not Lane Kiffin him? I mean, like, leave him at the airport and, like, I mean, like, seriously, like, was that a home game?
Yep.
Yeah,
it was a home game, but drive him to the airport and leave him there. That's fine.
Drive him drive him to the airport. Go take him over to the varsity. Like, do whatever. Like,
send
hey,
his
the
ass
World of
to
Coca-Cola, they're probably hiring. See ya. You know, like, whatever. The Georgia State Capitol, there's a beautiful church. When I took my choir, when I used to be a choir teacher, we had a rehearsal at that church. This is right on the south side of the Georgia State Capitol, right there. Hey, go over to that church. I'm sure that they would take you in if you needed a place to stay. But where you cannot be is here. What? Wow. My mind is blown. Holy goodness.
It's pretty funny because Virginia kick returner DeMick Starling with 24 seconds left in the first half received the ball at the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
Instead of calling for a fair catch, which is a new rule implemented for safety reasons a few years back, instead of calling for a fair catch, he decided he was going to take a knee at the 3-yard line. So somehow, some way, that's not going to be the Go ACC moment of the week this week. And that takes a lot. That takes a lot.
Look, I was
overcome.
out at the whiskey bar. I was telling these guys I was at a whiskey bar with a friend for his birthday last night, and I saw that one at the kneeling at the 3 while we were still there. So I had like a glass of Woodford Reserve, and I was like, wait, am I drunk? Because I just got this drink, and I only had one sip. Did I miss something here? Wow.
The best part of it is that in the video, Paris Jones, running back for UVA, and the secondary return man, gets so angry at Starling.
As he should.
He's bent over and then turns around, and he's screaming at Starling because he can't believe, and he's waving his arm. He's like, "Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you call for a fair catch?"
Coaching him on the field.
Pissed. He was so he was like doubled over, and then just gets mad. You see him just kind of flailing his arms, and he turns around.
Dude, this game.
Outrageous. This game was on cocaine. By the way, I don't even think we read off the score.
This game was on lewds, dude. This was not on uppers. It was on downers. It was bad.
Virginia. The score of this game, by the way, was Virginia 16, Georgia Tech 9. Virginia had over 400 yards of offense and barely won this football game.
Yeah,
they
had
turned
almost
it over
100
yards
5 times or whatever.
They
only
turned
5?
it over 4 times.
I think it was 4.
Turned it over 4 times and had almost 100 yards worth of penalties, and they still won the game. This is a terrible, terrible look for Georgia Tech, man. Like I was reminded quickly. I picked Georgia Tech. I locked Georgia Tech up on the preview. Dumbass. This is what you get. This is
Correct.
exactly what you get for trusting an interim coach. Like, what was I thinking? Georgia Tech still sucks. Like, what am I doing? I was reminded quickly. This team is still very, very bad.
I'll say this, like, the whole thing completely went to hell. So we talked about this, like, Jeff Sims was definitely going to play, and he was fine. And my understanding, so that they came off a bye, and before that, he had gotten hurt, I think, early in the overtime of the Duke game. And my understanding was, he'll come back. He was ready to come back if they had gone to a double overtime. So I was like, after a week and a half, more, he'll be fine. Well, apparently, he was, like, going to give it a go. And by the middle of the second quarter, it was like, I can't do this. And he pulled the plug himself. I don't know if he was just too hurt to play, or if he's like, this isn't worth it, or I don't know. But the moment that he came out of the game, Georgia Tech's offense just went absolutely down the toilet. Like, could not move the ball at all. I mean, Zach Gibson sacked like 7 or 8 times. He ends up with 12 carries for negative 25 yards, and that includes an 11-yard carry. Just the whole thing was horrible. Tech's defense, I thought, actually played pretty well. Even giving up 400 yards, Virginia was 2 for 14 on third down. They turned it over 4 times.
I don't know if that's good or bad. Like a good or bad stat to announce. They're 2 for 14 on third down, 100 yards worth of penalties. Like,
there's basically nothing to be proud of for either of these teams besides the fact that Virginia finished the game with more points than Georgia Tech had. Like, that's about the extent of it. Both kickers missed extra points. I think they were a combined like 2 for 4 on field goals, if I'm not mistaken. Virginia missed 2 field goals, not from super distance either. Like, 35 to 45 yard field goals, just missed them. This game was an absolute nightmare for both teams. It was bad football, just straight up. It was.
We'll bet Ridge for Virginia. He was 1 for 3 on field goals, and he missed an extra point as well. So
yeah,
that's a recipe to lose your starting job.
And this was also a pretty perfect, I think, encapsulation of kind of what Virginia's offense has been this year. So again, they rack up 410 yards. They start moving the ball a lot. They could not finish drives to save their lives. They kept stalling out on third downs. They even went 1 for 3 on fourth down. So there were a couple times they went for it and missed it anyways. Incredible.
You guys should look at the drive chart for the second half of this game. It is atrocious.
There were 3 points in the second half of this game. It was 13-9 at halftime. Final score 16-9. 5 plays punt, 3 plays punt, 5 plays punt, 3 plays fumble, 4 plays field goal, 3 plays punt, 8 plays missed field goal, 3 plays punt, 6 plays turnover on downs, 3 plays punt, 5 plays fumble, 3 plays punt, 5 plays punt, 11 plays turnover on downs, 3 plays punt, 3 plays end of game.
End of game by running out of bounds.
Astounding.
End of game by running out of bounds. Just an astounding display of ineptitude is what this was.
I know that's a bit from another podcast, but I feel like we needed some Dvorak under that. Like, shout out to Dan for seeing the solid.
Oh, yeah.
I have told myself since halftime of that game that I I would be doing a major disservice if I did not call out the individual play of Dontavian Wicks from Virginia, who had the one receiving touchdown in this game, and
Kid's a stud.
He made a couple of disgusting jukes and spins. He was on the sideline. Nobody could even touch him to try to push him out of bounds, and he skates, around like 5 different Georgia Tech defenders. It was an incredible play by him to score the touchdown that ultimately is like the difference in the game. Tech's only touchdown was a pick 6 that they had. God, I mean, this was. I'll say this too. I felt bad because I had gone off on my Twitter somewhere in the last like 10 days or so about how it is really disappointing that like ESPN and a couple of these networks have just totally ceded Thursday nights to the NFL and some of these just trash ass NFL games that we've been subject to on Thursday nights, and how college football on Thursday nights is so much better and I need this. Worry. Well, yeah, you still got it. Yeah. And then my team goes and plays on Thursday night in a game that between the two teams basically set college football back like 15 years. I mean, it was just ugh.
Chris Grondin, friend of the show, Chris Grondin.
Shout out, Chris.
A long-standing bit on this. Shout out, Chris. Long-standing bit on this podcast is from my 2019 trip to Death Valley when I watched one Dennis Grosel play quarterback for Boston College, and I was talking about how that was the worst performance that I've seen out of a quarterback ever.
Dude.
Joey.
What about Nathan Peterman for the Bills like 5 years ago? I don't know.
That's pretty bad. That was pretty bad.
Oh,
too.
the Peterman.
The Peterman.
But I think they're both. But to be honest with you, I think they both pale in comparison to what I watched on Thursday night. This was horrible. It was horrible.
I just and again, for anyone who doesn't know, this kid Zach Gibson comes in to play, and he's the backup quarterback. He's transferred in from Akron. And you might be thinking, well, he's never, maybe he hasn't played that much. Like, he's his first action in college football. It's all just too fast for him, whatever. No, my man came from Akron. And again, MAC school, not the ACC, but like, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. We've seen MAC quarterbacks have success against ACC teams in recent memory, right? Like, maybe the game's a little faster in the ACC. It's not that much faster.
Are you trying to talk about how Northern Illinois or Indiana or Illinois who beat your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets last year? Is that what you're talking about?
The only reason I'm not going to mention that is that was Rocky Lombardi, former Michigan State quarterback.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
Sure.
Oh yes, of course. How can we
forget?
Yes.
Whoever the hell from whichever directional Michigan played against Pittsburgh the last 2 years, or
Western,
Daniel
baby.
Richardson
Western.
from Miami, Booker T. Washington, who happens to be 5'9". There was Miami went up to Toledo. They had a decent quarterback at the time. Also, they had the receiver who's at the Steelers. I forget his name, Johnson, who was giving us numbers for a while.
Deontay.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson. Or whatever. So, like, yeah, I mean, it was not like it didn't end up being a Heisman caliber performance, but like, yeah, some of those MAC quarterbacks from time to time, they're not.
My point is that Zach Gibson has played in 17 games over the last 3 years for Akron and had thrown 370 passing attempts in 3 years coming to Georgia Tech. He's not a rookie. He's played college football before at the FBS level. Why do you look so terrified and useless? And the only thing I can think, by the way, is, and I think really where the problem is going to be, and we don't have to hang on this much longer, but the reason that Georgia Tech might turn into just an absolute dumpster fire moving forward on offense, if you look at Jeff Sims versus the 3 scholarship quarterbacks there to back him up, you have this kid Gibson, you have Ty Pumachan, who transferred from Clemson, who apparently is not close to being good enough to see the field, which that's a whole thing. And then you have Zach Pyron, he's like a freshman, basically. But you've got like 3 guys, none of whom have particularly close skill sets to what Jeff Sims has. And I mean, by the way, part of what Jeff Sims
he can move some, but he's not Jeff Sims.
Gibson can't.
Well, right. I mean, Fomashan, he can, or Fomachan, whatever.
And that's
But I mean,
that's
like-
the thing is you're playing behind this offensive line. Like you have to have somebody that can protect themselves a little bit because Gibson can't, and that offensive line cannot protect him. Anyone that has mobility close to what he has, like
Yeah,
I
Georgia
know
Tech's
that
been
feeling.
able to go the LSU route, which is, we have to start Jaden Daniels because our offensive line is really, really bad.
yeah.
They kind of had to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
But I mean,
yeah,
hey, in a couple weeks, everything will be cured when you go up against a team that is a cure that ails or cure for whatever ails your team in the Miami Hurricanes. So you can look forward to that, Joseph.
I mean, at this point,
Okay.
UNC is just going to like walk into Charlotte, right?
I mean, we'll get to Pitt. We'll get to Pitt here in a bit, but like,
They've
I
already
know
lost
Georgia
in
Tech.
the
Georgia Tech loses that game on Thursday, and that Pitt game just went final. Basically, right as
Pitt
we hit
lost
record,
again.
Pitt lost again. Scott Satterfield is saving his job against really bad competition.
Hot Cedar Fields won a game. Oh my goodness!
Hot Cedar Fields won a
Hot
game.
Cedar Fields. Can't believe I got that one wrong. Should we go there, Mike?
Crazy.
No,
You know,
no, we
let's-
shouldn't go there. Not yet. Before we talk about the club level, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
Cade
Let's go.
Klubnik.
Let's go. Hey.
Hell yeah.
And look, if you guys listened when I hopped on for the preview, or if you follow my Twitter at Underwood Sports, I have been the CEO, the founder, the first investor at the alpha level of the club level. Like, I've been talking about this because DJU is not that guy, and Cade Klubnik is so much better. Is currently so much better, not even taking into account his potential and everything else. So, me and Harrison, another guy that I know on Twitter, then Mike, we were talking about this, and it came over, hashtag club level, and like, Clemson got to go to the club level. And, I know that Dabo is going to talk about the fact that he wants to go with DJ and da-da-da-da, but like, I got eyes in my head and a brain that works. He ain't it, and Klubnik, I'm not saying that Klubnik is, but I know that Klubnik could be, and I have certainty that Uiagalelei is not. And then he got benched today for Klubnik, and Klubnik leads them back to a come from behind win against Syracuse. And then in something that, I mean, almost even more than the 50-11 turnovers that Miami had today, blowing my mind, Dabo Swinney, unironically, in the same sentence, compared DJ Uiagalelei with Stephen Curry.
What?
I heard
So
I did not hear the input. Was this in the post game?
this is in the post on the field with the reporter.
I was
And
actually,
so she,
I actually was dealing with Mike's baby, so yeah, okay. That's why.
so
Yes.
So she asked him about, okay, what about DJ and how is he handling this and everything? And he's like, yeah, well, sometimes good players have bad days and everything. And I mean, like, look, sometimes Steph Curry's going to go 2 for 25, you know what I mean? But like, he's still, there. And I'm like, so you have made the direct comparison to the best shooter of all time to your erstwhile tight end playing quarterback who is going to go pro in something other than sports or a different position.
When is
So
the last
you're
time that
making-
Steph Curry got benched in the third quarter?
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say.
Got benched. Not even like take a rest. You got 4 fouls early in the third. No. Benched. Go sit down. Somebody else is going to play because you can't hack it. And then you say that, and it sounds good. Right? Oh, it's a soundbite. Oh, yeah. Well, Steph Curry sometimes goes for 2 for 25. First of all, no, he doesn't. First of all. Second of all, even if he did, the potential exists for Steph to go 25 for 25, or that video that we saw of him shooting from the corner the other year that had 103 in a row from the left corner, or the right corner, right? That potential and performance does not exist in the universe of DJ Uiagalelei playing quarterback. So to make that comparison, and I will send it, Scott, to the chat right now because I sent it to my buddy Fred, so you can see. You can even link it and put it on the screen if you want or whatever. But
Yeah, send it.
so he did that, and furthermore stated that unequivocally, moving forward, DJU is our guy. He is the quarterback of this team. He is the singular quarterback, the singular leader of this team now and moving forward. Are you trying to get fired?
Yes.
Like, honestly and true. Or are you trying to depress the value of the Clemson job to then have, like, a leg to stand on if and when Nick Saban wants to leave from Tuscaloosa, and like God forbid they lose a game or two. Like, what in the world?
Here's the thing. This is the takeaway. This is the takeaway today, right? This is the takeaway. DJ has had a really nice year, right? He's been good. Here's the problem. Today he was really, really bad, right? Mm-hmm. He has a turnover at the 10-yard line, a really bad fumble, right, that Syracuse recovers, cribs it 90 yards, right? Yeah. He throws 2 egregiously gross, overthrown interceptions, like shades of 2021 DJU, like rattled throws, right?
He had a few
were not very
badly
good.
Off-target throws, yeah.
A few really, like, this is the most inaccurate he's been all year. Unironically, this is also probably one of the best defenses he's played, or maybe a top 2 defense he's played. We'll get to that in a moment. This started out well for Clemson, right? Syracuse turned it over on downs. Clemson got the ball, scored in 7 plays, included a 41-yard pass from DJ to Davis Allen, is one of his favorite targets now, a tight end. Clemson went up early in this game. Then they fell behind, right, because they started having issues with the turnovers. Third quarter, they turned it over to Klubnik, right? And Klubnik's passing stats
Before I jump
aren't the story here.
Yeah, we do have a comment from a listener or a watcher. He only threw 4 passes, so let's not overreact. I think that's a valid point.
Well, I'm going to get to that. This is why.
Thanks, Evan, for the comment.
This next part of the conversation.
Tough but fair.
This is why the next part of the conversation is important, though. Klubnik is a different type of runner than DJU. They are 2 completely different types of... DJU is a power runner, right? He is a between-the-tackles runner at the quarterback position. Klubnik, from what we've seen, is an off-tackle type runner, right? A more conventional college quarterback in that regard, right? Less Garrett Schrader, more like... I don't know.
Dare I say Johnny Manziel?
Sure.
He's not quite that, but along those lines.
But he's not a between the tackle. The running game opened up for Clemson when Klubnik was in the game, right? They were keying on the power running of DJU, and when Klubnik came in, it gave enough of a wrinkle that opened up some running lanes for Will Shipley. That's where Clemson won this football game, right? We said on the preview it was going to be a Will Shipley game,
Almost
right?
250 all-purpose yards again.
Yes. Every game should be a Will Shipley game, is the point that Joey brought up on the preview. And agree, by the way, agree. But that's where Cade Klubnik changed this football game. That's where Klubnik changed the football game, right? It was with his differing ability to run the football than DJU. So when Dabo comes out after a game and says DJU's our guy, I believe him, right? I believe him. But the one thing I will say is that later in the year, when you start playing better competition, because Clemson's going to win out, right? Like, this is probably the toughest game they have left. Like, I think they're going to go to South Bend and kill Notre Dame. And then outside of that, they have 3 games down the stretch that are all very winnable, right? So I think Clemson is going to cruise to the ACC championship, and if we've seen anything out of the Coastal, they're probably going to win the ACC championship, right? When they get to the college football playoff, inevitably at 13-0. When they get to the college football playoff at 13-0, right? And it's time for them to play a real defense. They're going to need the Cade Klubnik wrinkle, right? Or they're going to need Cade Klubnik to play, additional snaps. And I'll tell you what, Klubnik's passing stats, he's seen limited action, right? But his passing stats against some of their non-conference competition did not look particularly good. So I have the same concerns. I have the same concerns about Clemson as I did early in the year, if the passing game gets a little off schedule with DJU, and he has kind of the bad turnovers he had today, because he's been taking care of the football all year, and Clemson's been pretty efficient offensively. They've been better because of it. If he starts turning the ball over, and they got to turn to Klubnik, a freshman, to let it loose against, I don't know, like Ohio State, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, I don't think that's going to be a very good proposition for Clemson, which is why, while I think they can run the table and I think that they can get to a college football playoff, the expectations once they get there from my side are extremely, extremely low, even as the defense gets healthy and even as, they start, playmakers start to emerge on offense with Bo Collins and Antonio Williams had a nice game today. Like, some of these guys are starting to emerge offensively, but like they are not that offense that they've been in the past. And I think because of that, when you get to the like elites of the world, like they're not there, man. They're like a half step. They're a Notre Dame type offense when they get to a college football playoff. Like what we've seen out of Notre Dame, where like Notre Dame beats the hell out of like everybody they play on their schedule, and they get to the college football playoff, and that like Notre Dame's defense, was going to kind of hold up well enough, but could the offense score with like an Alabama like in 2020, or can they score with a Clemson when Trevor Lawrence is in the lineup? Like the answer was no. Like that's what I'm concerned about with Clemson when it comes to like playing elite competition later in the year. But like Cade Klubnik is going to have a role on this team moving forward, even if DJU is the guy. And I believe Dabo when he says DJ's our guy. But Klubnik's going to have a role. I just don't know how much that changes things for Clemson for this particular season.
I believe Dabo. I just think it's short-sighted, honestly. I think that, Klubnik is the better option. I know that he hasn't thrown a lot. And, I mean, like, I'm not saying that he's Trevor Lawrence. Like, he should have been taking over this job or anything. I'm very firm.
It also doesn't mean anything, Cam, because, like, it's –
exactly.
He's so early in his career, it doesn't mean anything, right? If
right.
he has or hasn't thrown a ton, right? The sample size is so small.
Right. I mean, so you have that, but I mean, to your point about the run game, it's not even that Klubnik runs differently than DJ. It's that all of the running backs, including DJ, do the same damn thing. You know what I mean? Like Shipley,
all the receivers.
That's a great point.
You give him a little bit of stuff outside, but you're going to run upside. Or run inside. Maffa, the big power back, as they did. Where's he running? Between the tackles. Where's DJU at 6'4", 230 running inside? So you got everybody doing the same thing, right? You have no diversity of scheme or ability, really, right? You don't have anybody who's going to stretch the field laterally in that kind of a way. So now when you do that, you get that quarterback still involved in the run game, but somewhere else. You take him out of that same lane, and then, okay, cool, we can let Shipley, we can let Mosfa, we can let all these, we can let them do there inside and then out or whatever. But he's going to be on the edges more, and that's going to just, it creates the space schematically for the people who are really supposed to be doing that to do that at a high level and not clogging it by bringing another guy in there. Because, again, if DJU is going to run it, or if you're going to zone read it or whatever, like, where are they going to go? Both of them, they're probably going to be in the same offensive footprint, right? So I think that that's really a key. And, like, DJU still needs to see guys high school open. And, I mean, like, look, the Tony Elliott offense apparently is not apparently, is
putrid.
Terrible. Like, it
Fraudulent?
I will say,
fraudulent?
Yeah, contributed to DJ's struggles in the past, because, I mean, if you see Brendan Armstrong having thrown for 73,000 yards last year, and now he's throwing for 183 yards a game in that, Tony Elliott designed and called offense, fraud, like, oh my God, like you're blinking
Tony
lights
Elliott,
and everything, so.
It's not good.
Tony Elliott,
I mean, so it's a
Tony Elliott
owes Brendan Armstrong like a couple million. Like, I'm not even
say,
kidding.
like,
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Tony Elliott holding back DJU. Can you imagine like uttering that sentence in like 2020 when like DJU came in against Notre Dame in South Bend and like threw for 1,000 yards? Like, can you imagine just like having that take like not that long after that happening?
Yeah, but I mean, I think looking back on it with the advantage of hindsight, like, okay, maybe there was a little bit of that, but I think that kind of hardwired into him. Like, he DJ still needs to see guys high school open. If he doesn't see the 8 and the other 8 on the jersey open in the window, he's like, there's anticipation when it's one read. Like, you know, they're running, you know, smash to the field side because he has a strong arm and he can get it. So, like, you know, if that cover 2 corner sinks, I'm zipping it to the curl. If he jumps the curl, I'm zipping it to the flag behind it. But I'm standing here,
can throw that route,
not moving, and I'm looking at that one guy. And that one guy determines my high-low read. Okay, he can throw that with some anticipation. There's been a couple hospital balls he's thrown up the seam to, like, Brenningstool or whatever. Like, literal hospital balls. I mean, like, my goodness. I mean, if this is, you know, if this is even 6 years ago, I mean, like, whoo! Yeah. I mean, if Jacked Up was still around, you know, like, I mean, some of them balls,
he just got jacked up.
Honestly, if you don't know what I'm talking about, like when you throw the seam route into where the safety is going to crash down, think of those balls that Peyton Manning used to throw to the rotating inside receivers, and there would be those, I mean, big car crash collisions right there because you're trying to fit that ball behind the backers and in front of the safety, and that safety's breaking on that hard for that collision.
Over the receiver's head, they're going to open up the ribs, and there's the safety coming in to just crack them in the middle of their body.
You know what I mean? So, but DJ's throwing some of those because, you know, basically you work the drill, and it's like, okay, you're going to throw it to the spot, and either we're going to get the catch or we're going to get targeting. So hopefully, Brenningstool, you know, brought your flak jacket with you to the game, and
thank you for your sacrifice.
Exactly. You know, we appreciate you for your service, but like he'll throw that. But like otherwise, like this is not a good player. Like he has physical talent, like he has a strong arm and everything, but like he has the stature that you want. Okay, he's 6'4", and you know Miami had De'Aaron King at 5'9", 10, whatever. Cool, that's more than that. He's well built. You know, he's lost some weight, so he's down to what 225, 230 from the 250 or 55 he was at last year. Great, fine. Like he has attributes that you would think would turn into, but like he just doesn't see it, and regardless of if it's Tony Elliott or anybody else, it just, you know, at the beginning of this segment, you know, Mike is talking about, you know, the performance that, you know, was everything from DJ today and blah, blah, blah. I respectfully submit that DJ was more himself today than he's been this season. And everything else was fool's gold.
Spicy.
And you're seeing look, hey, and go back and look at his movies, bro. Like I went down when I was talking to Fred, I went down his completion percentage per game last year. Yeah, he had a couple games like 60%, but completions, but low usage. You know what I mean? You're not throwing it 40 times. You're throwing it 25. You know, 18 for 25 or whatever. You know, 15 for whatever. Like, look, this is not a talented passing quarterback. He was more himself today than anything else. And what they were doing was putting lipstick on a pig, and they were trying to hide it every single game. And then the real DJU, please stand up, and he did, and you see what it is. And what happened when the real DJ Uyunglele showed up? We went to the club level, and that's where Clemson should be every single week. Listen to me now. I'm telling you, loud and right is what I am. Listen.
Clemson.
Club
so
level.
Clemson.
All right.
Clemson snapped a streak today of being perfect in the red zone so far this year. They had scored on every single red zone possession. They were one of 3 teams in the country that had done that, joining Ohio State and Tennessee, 2 other really elite offenses. So they snapped that today with that fumble at the 10-yard line. That was the only red zone possession that they wasted, letter of the law. But they had 4 possessions where they were in Syracuse territory and they came up with no points 4 different times. That's not going to work, right? Mm-hmm. Against it. It almost didn't work today. Mm-hmm. This is a Syracuse team
and when it wasn't working, they went to a player that could make it work. Because DJ is not whatever. I was very loud about Malik Rozier in 2017 not being very good for the Miami Hurricanes, and was proven right in 2018. I mean, we all were and everything. Well. Yes. But hey, listen, I'm trying to tell you, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I will go with what I believe and what I have seen. He is not that guy, and whether Klubnik is or is not, I know that DJ's not that dude. And again, like you're talking about, the offense wasn't working, and they were about to lose this game, and it was going away from them. And so they went to somebody, excuse me, that could make it work. Cade Klubnik. Thank you. I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
Next
Real
question.
quick. I have 4 takeaways from this game. Are you ready?
Number 1.
Number 1. There's a very obvious way for Clemson moving forward to beat Syracuse. Just play the backup quarterback. Okay? We've done this like 3 times now. Just play the backup quarterback. You will beat Syracuse. You don't have to wait until the middle of the third quarter. Just start the backup. You'll beat Syracuse. It happens every time. Number 1.
Working.
Number 2. Syracuse. Actually, not kidding. Give Sean Tucker the ball, please. Sean Tucker had 10 touches in this game total. He had 5 carries. He had 5 receptions. Now, we have jokes about the Schrader-Tucker index and the whole thing, and yes, like 2/3 of their plays ended up in the hands of, they ended up in the hands of Garrett Schrader and Sean Tucker, right? Like that's true. But like the fact that he carried the ball 5 times for 54 yards, I'm sure that this is all a bunch of like option, what look did they give you, like kind of influence stuff, but like you got to feed him the ball a little more. You can't have Garrett Schrader carrying the ball 21 times, including sacks. And I'm looking at, he got sacked 5 times, but like you can't hand him the ball 16 times. Number 2. Number 3, part of the reason that he carried the ball 16 times, Clemson's defense did not adjust for Schrader in the run game for a long time. Like it was like it took until like the middle of the third quarter.
To the point where you tweeted it and you were like, this is eerily reminiscent of the Wake Forest game where it took them like basically an entire like 60 minutes of game action to realize that all they had to do against Wake Forest receivers was play cover 3, cover 4 shell and keep everything in front of them, which they kind of refused to do. You had that
for like
tweet
3
today
quarters,
because for like 3 quarters, it took them I would say middle of the third quarter is when they finally started kind of taking away that Garrett Schrader. They had the spy out there basically right after you tweeted about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm glad they're watching my Twitter because, like going into halftime, it was like Schrader run, Schrader run, Schrader run, and they're just shredding the Clemson defense. And you're like, okay, there's one guy that's killing you, and y'all refuse to like spy him or assign anybody to him, and he keeps killing you. So I don't know. There's an obvious adjustment out here. And then Syracuse gets the ball for the first time in the second half, and it's Schrader run, and they just keep shredding him. It's like, this isn't hard. Like, there's one guy that continues to kill you, and you refuse to cover him or like assign anybody to him.
Make him throw.
Yeah, there's an easy answer here. And then, like mid-third quarter, they start to actually spy him and take away that run option. And then, guess what? Syracuse's offense stalled and just couldn't do anything like the rest of the game. And, how about that? Clemson won. And so that's point number 3. Point number 4 is
Hey, it was BYOG, bring your own guts.
That's right. It was BYOG, bring your own guts. Good on you, Clemson. Got the win. Still undefeated.
Clemson wins their clunkers, bro. They win their clunkers. Like
somehow.
That's one thing. It didn't used to be that way.
Is it a clunker when you beat a top 15 team? I don't know.
This was a
Klubnik
Clemson clunker. This is a Clemson clunker.
Is more
if they don't
relative to the team's performance,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like to what they can do as opposed to who they're playing.
If they don't turn the ball over 4 times today, they were consistently moving the ball in the first half, and then DJ would just throw it away, right? He had 3 of the 4 turnovers, he had the 2 picks, he had the fumble. Shipley had a really bad fumble in the second half. Like they were just giving their players that they rely upon offensively to do a brunt of the work, right? With DJ and Will Shipley, they were giving the game away for a while, like both of them, and Shipley ended up turning things around, and Klubnik came in and added a different look in the running game, and Clemson kind of got right in the second half. But if they don't turn the ball over 4 times, they probably cover here. Like, there was a point in the fourth quarter where I looked at Scott. Scott was at my house today. I looked at Scott, and I said, Scott, is Clemson going to cover here, buddy? And it was looking kind of like they could. kind of like they could. They were up 6 with 8 minutes left, and I was like, a score or two here, and we're in cover town somehow. So this is just not. And Cam, you made the argument about like DJU showing his true colors. How about Garrett Schrader showing his true colors on that final drive of the passing game? I guess like a 2-minute drill, and you're like trying to get your team like down, all the way down the field. There's like limited timeouts, and you're trying to, push the ball down the field. That Garrett Schrader interception at the end was one of the worst throws I've seen like across the sport this weekend. He threw it into triple coverage, like on a 10-yard out route.
And
what
also,
are you doing?
And I'll say it.
That was
Mike
a him ball, though.
Yes,
that was like a literal him ball. Like, no, throw it to him, and that's come what may. Like,
Yes,
exactly. The reason you say that, Cam, me and Mike were watching together, and Mike goes, as soon as this ball leaves his hand, he goes, "That's a terrible throw." Didn't even see the end of the play. Just goes, "That's a terrible throw."
I just couldn't believe. I mean, he was sitting in the pocket forever, so you knew like guys were covered, right? He's just like sitting there. He's kind of like surveying the field. I'm like, all right, he's going up against like a top probably 7 defense in the country, and he's sitting there and he's got all day to throw and nobody's open. I'm like, this is not going to end well. And then as soon as he let it go, it was like a dying duck in the air. I'm like, this is a wrap. And you see where he threw it. I'm like, that was terrible. Like, what are you doing, Garrett Schrader? And to your point, Cam, about like DJU showing his true colors, Garrett Schrader has been much better throwing like DJU has been much better throwing the football this year. Robert Anai is the offensive coordinator. Garrett Schrader revealed his true colors, man. This is like a bona fide Garrett Schrader 2021 throw. That was horrible.
Yeah. And Robert Anai, the former offensive coordinator at Virginia, who had what's his face throwing for 73 million yards. And
Brennan Armstrong, baby.
Brennan Armstrong, exactly. So like, hey, it comes full circle. And you talk about those things, but yeah, it was that was an unfortunate throw for Syracuse in that game.
Evan Sandage on YouTube. Dino said post-game, Clemson was defending the RPO too well to keep giving it to Tucker. Didn't really change up to some of the non-option play calls, though. So, yeah, it was it was a little bit scheme-related why Tucker didn't get the ball anymore, but
thanks, Evan. Thanks,
but
Evan,
when
for
he's
watching.
The guy,
First stream ever from Chris Grondin. Second stream ever. Thanks, Chris.
We're doing our
You have
best.
to find a way to get your guy the ball.
Love Chris.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
All right.
That's it.
Should we talk about
No more takeaways on this game. I gave you all 4 of mine.
Good. Should we talk about the Fighting Sam Hartmans?
Yeah,
Got it
so
done.
this was a game for a bit. This was a game for a little bit.
I thought my pick of Boston College plus the 20.5 was actually going to work out there for a little while, and then,
Mike was scared, and then
didn't.
we watched the 2-point conversion. He'll tell you.
Yes.
Friggin' Wake going for 2 up 21 in the fourth quarter. Like,
it's 20.
Come on.
It's 28. It's 28 to 15. Wake Forest in the third quarter, and Sam Hartman misses high over the middle, and his receiver should have caught it. I forget who it was over the middle. Receiver should have caught it. It was intercepted, and I look at Scott. I'm like, okay, look at BC making it a game. Then they go like 3-place punt, and then Wake goes right up the field and scores, and then goes for 2. And as they're going for 2, they're up 19 at this point. Scott looks at me and he goes, "Is this play like significant to some?" And he was kind of joking. And then we both remembered the line in this game was 20.5. I'm like, yes, this is in fact significant to some. And Wake Forest converts, and they go up 21. And then of course they win this game 43-15. They pull away. They pull away the rest of the game. Like, BC was game here for a little while. I know Wake jumped on them early, but like BC just kind of hung around the entire game, which I was expecting Wake to like more easily put this game away, and they weren't really able to do it for a while, which
But then they won by
probably
4
not that big of a deal.
touchdowns, So
But then they win by 4 touchdowns. Probably not that big of a deal. Like, Wake's probably just going to cruise to 10 wins because they're just going to outscore like everybody they play pretty much, and they got their tough games out of the way, and I don't know. I mean, I think Wake's just going to cruise to a New Year's Six game at this point. I think that's kind of where they're at.
at least Zay Fowler is still going to get drafted. 10 receptions for 135 and a touchdown. Damn. All right. And a losing
He's all they
effort?
got. He's all they got.
Zay
all they
Flowers
got.
from Fort Lauderdale University School, and hey. But you can't take everybody who's like a 3-star, and hey. but he's somebody that we should have matched or exceeded the NIL contribution from Boston College.
Yes.
This offseason. And as we're seeing, by now relying on a player who was at JUCO last year, and Colby Young, who had 6 catches for 127 and 2 tutties for Miami. Very, very good. Like, I mean, he's becoming the number 1 receiver, but like, we down here could have used, I mean, but also looking at the Miami performances this year, there's oh so very much we could use to improve the performance. So, but Zay Flowers could have been one of those guys.
Do we
How
need
that
to
dude
get
ended
ready?
up in Boston is beyond me. Like, he is really, really good.
No, I'm going to tell you, like I say, he went to U School down here in Fort Lauderdale, which is a private school attached to Nova Southeastern University, and Boston College will come down. You know, they recruit every now and then, and it's a Jesuit institution, so a private school up in Boston and everything. Like, okay, well, come here and take a couple of years to develop. We know that you need to work on your body a little bit, maybe reshape it, maybe get a little bit quicker, but like, you have great hands, you can fit in what we do. We don't throw it a lot, but we think that you can be the guy that we throw it to down the line and everything. And pretty much everybody else in-state is going for all the big names, because there's always big names at wide receiver and defensive back in the state of Florida, especially down here in South Florida. And he was just one of those guys who were, pretty much everybody was like, what? I mean, he's definitely a Power 5 guy. He's definitely like a Boston College. I mean, he could play at Miami, Florida State. He could play at Alabama. I mean, he might not never really
Get in the rotation,
see the field, but he could play at any of these places. So like, it fits that he goes to a school with a name that but we're just really not on him. But like, he's a decent enough player, and you put all that together with in that class and everything, and so he goes up there and takes a couple years, and then really splashes on the field as a sophomore, and everything goes from there. But I mean, it was kind of just the private school to private school pipeline from high school to college, and just a really, really solid evaluation and connection with a single player, and like, that's how it happened.
Do we need to? Is this a little early, or do we need to get ready for 11-1 Wake Forest? And
Gosh.
listen to me. I know the schedule kind of looks like it's semi tough down the stretch. Like, they got Louisville next Saturday. I think they're going to kill them. Louisville won today, but I'm not worried about that for Wake.
Louisville is
at
just a
NC
slightly better
State
version than like Virginia. Like, they're barely better than Virginia. So
they're like a very gross. Like, Louisville's a gross team. But they still find
they're
ways
gonna
to
lose to James Madison in 2 weeks. I'm just saying.
They're wildly inconsistent.
They are incredibly inconsistent. Yeah, they are going to lose. I agree. I think they are going to lose to James Madison.
Well, I mean, when you don't know if you're going to get Malik or McHale at quarterback, how can you be consistent when you don't know?
This is true. Name that Cunningham.
Which version? Name that Cunningham. Which one's going to show up? So.
And at this point, and we'll get here, you might get 1 drive of Malik, 2 drives of McHale, and then 6 drives of, what was it? Something Duman? Who is my guy? Brett Duman?
Yeah.
Brock Duman. Yeah, there you go.
Brock
You don't know what you're going to get.
Bro, Satterfield's getting fired after they
Something
lose to
named-
JMU. I'm just saying it. They got Wake next week, then they got JMU. He's donezo when they lose to them, because then they got Clemson, NC State, and Kentucky. He's gone.
Should have fired him both by week.
Right.
Yeah.
So what he did is turn the temperature down from like hellfire to just simply very, very, very hot on his hot seat.
Should we just transition? Yeah, I was gonna say, should we just transition into the Pitt game? Because like, I don't really have any more takes on this Wake game other than like, is Wake gonna go 11-1?
And that is very, very possible.
I mean,
It is, yeah. Well, let's have that quick conversation, and then let's make that transition. Wake has 5 games left: at Louisville, at NC State, home against North Carolina, home against Syracuse, at Duke. 3 of those 5 teams are ranked. I'm pretty sure Wake could run the table. I don't know that there's any one of those ranked teams that they can't beat. Like,
they're going to be favored. They're going to be favored in all 5.
Evan on YouTube says Wake
Probably,
/ UNC
yep.
slam the over. Well, I'm implying it because he said over with a bunch of R's. So thanks, Evan.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
slam
my
it.
God! Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's going to be
Way over.
97 to 83 kind of game or whatever.
Cam.
It's good.
Cam.
That's going to be yes.
NBA totals.
This reminded me. You and I had a conversation late last night about the Miami game. I believe that game went over today.
It did go over.
Sorry.
Well, we gifted them all those. Well, whatever. It did.
I
It did.
agree.
It,
I agree. It cashes, baby.
Regardless,
It cashes, baby.
It cashes. But that
It cashes. It's one of my few bets that
Wake
cash
Carolina
today.
game. Oh, well, then spend that cash on some liquor, or whatever, or some baby formula, whatever deal is doing.
He just bet on me for that baby formula. It's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just sent Scott some money for that formula.
But what I was gonna say is that Carolina Wake game is going to be like that Isner Mahut Wimbledon match that went for all the like in the fifth set with no tiebreak that went to whatever like that's
70 to 68.
Dude,
yeah,
getting
exactly.
Wimbledon
70 to
fucking
68
references in this podcast, hell yeah.
You're welcome. But it's gonna be one of the. I mean, it's gonna be either that or like a pinball machine. Like the points are just gonna, pour in that game. It's gonna be crazy.
God.
Point being,
Louisville.
Wake is probably
should we-
like 10-2 at worst, right?
Yeah, they're 10-2 at worst, probably 11-1. I think I'm on board with 11-1 Wake. The only game I can see them potentially lose is Carolina because Carolina can score with them. Other than that, I think Wake just outscores the rest of the teams they play.
So then, let me ask you this: based upon that, is 9-3 a disappointment for Wake Forest this year?
Absolutely, I think so. Given the remaining schedule and how they've looked so far, I think 9-3 would be a disappointment. If you told me before the season Wake was going to go 9-3, I would have said, okay, that's reasonable. But now, kind of like with how they've looked and like what's left in front of them, especially now that NC State's not going to have Devin Leary, like
Right.
you got it. You got to win 10
At this moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at
this
this
moment,
moment,
yeah.
yes. Okay. All right. I'm with it.
Beautiful. Louisville 24, Pittsburgh 10. Scott Satterfield saved his job again
Until January.
for another week.
Damn it all, Pat Narduzzi.
Yes, for another week.
What is the matter with you?
Yo,
Do we know?
Pitt's bad. Pitt.
Do we know why Pat
ahead.
Narduzzi is religiously opposed to scoring points? Do we know why he just decided after like going and winning all these games and having this offense with Mark Whipple that like opened it up and
It's
chucked
funny.
it around and all these things, and he just said, I hear you, I know what we did, and I thank you for getting me an extension and all these things, but like absolutely not. We are 100%
It's funny, too.
not that.
Because Whipple's going to be out of a job again because he's like in a lame duck, like just interim coach situation in Nebraska. Like Whipple's going to be out of a job again. So like, where's he going to go coach next? Because it's clear like he knows what he's doing, and Narduzzi just couldn't get along with him. That's what it was. Like he just couldn't get along with him. So, probably because Narduzzi was screaming at him to run the football. And Whipple was like, all right, well, I'm not going to do that when I have Jordan Addison and, like, a good version of Kenny Pickett. Like, why would we run the ball 40 times a game? That's, like, a waste of time. So they just scored 1 million points last year, and then he basically just fired Whipple, which is mutual parting of ways. I mean, we all know what that was. It was a firing. So he gets rid of Whipple, and now the only team that Pittsburgh can score on is Virginia Tech. So, like, this is not good. Like, Pitt's offense is bad. Like, Slovis has been terrible.
Objectively.
The play calling has been suspect at best. And like, basically, if your team is capable of stopping Izzy Abanikanda, like Pitt cannot move the football. Like, they are incapable of moving the football if you tackle their running back. That's it. That's all they got. Like, they don't have any playmakers at receiver now that Addison's gone. Slovis sucks. Like, they got nothing offensively. Nothing.
I have a question. Was the offense under Mark Whipple the very best that it has been at Pittsburgh under Pat Narduzzi? Because there is one year that did not involve Mark Whipple that I can think of, and that was the 2016 year under Matt Canada.
Matt Canada.
After which he was pretty promptly run off.
Couldn't get along with him either.
So I will say about Matt Canada, like Matt Canada is a guy who his reputation precedes him of like he is horrible to work with, which is a really nice way of saying, like, that guy is an asshole. Like, he is terrible. Like, the whole thing. Scott, please bleep that for the whole recording, whatever. That guy's terrible. Like, he's awful.
That was way too slow for me to beep it. You would have had to warn me, like, way too fast, but all right.
But the point
he's a few drinks in, man. You got to give him, like, a 10-second warning.
I finished the bottle,
This
fellas,
is the second time under Narduzzi.
Yeah.
The second individual occasion that Narduzzi's team at Pittsburgh has had a really good offense, and immediately the offensive coordinator bails.
Does Pat Narduzzi have a self-confidence problem? I don't know.
They didn't even bail. They were bailed out. They were defenestrated. Thrown through the window of a moving car or something. Like, yo, get out of here. I don't know. And I was just looking at the stats. They had 3 running backs with more than 100 carries last year. They averaged 37.5 rushes per game.
It's not like they weren't running the ball.
They weren't running the ball.
What do you mean they didn't run it enough? Like,
that's what I'm saying. In 2021, and I'm looking at it on CFBstats.com. If anybody wants to go look it up, they had 3 running backs with 102 carries or more. Pickett himself carried it 97 times, 525 carries in 14 games, 4 yards a carry for more than almost 2,100 yards.
Narduzzi wants to go. Look. Narduzzi wants to go. He wants to go reverse air raid, and the only thing I'll say about the Narduzzi era at Pittsburgh, I get they won the ACC championship game last year and all that. The one thing I'll say about the Narduzzi era at Pittsburgh is that he's really lucky his defenses came around, because for a while there we were talking about, they can score points with Matt Canada, but they can't stop anybody. That was the discussion in 2016. Remember? They've had their years where they couldn't play any defense, right? And the defense has been either good or fine, right, ever since. For the last, 3 or 4 years, I would say. Defense has been, at worst, they've been fine, right? They haven't fielded any more bad defenses. But for a while there, they were fielding bad defenses and mediocre offenses, which should have gotten Narduzzi's ass canned. But instead, he got to keep his job because, they had a good offensive year with Whipple, then a few years later, with Canada, then a few years later, they have a good offensive year with Whipple. And, Kenny Pickett never really developed until he was a fifth-year senior, right? Short of that Miami game as a freshman where he comes in off the... Sorry, Cam. When he comes in as a freshman and, has that one game, he didn't really have anything to hang his hat on, basically, until last season. Would we all agree? He was a pretty mediocre quarterback until last year. So,
he went from undrafted to first-round pick, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, well,
dude, my brother-in-law is a Steelers fan, and he's gung-ho about Kenny Pickett, and I keep telling him the whole thing about the headstone joke we had of... it took until 2021 that we were telling the joke of one day Kenny Pickett is going to die and his headstone is going to read, had that one game against Miami in 2017. Because up until that point, it was
legit.
It was fine, but he had that one game that he was great. And then, by the way, now he's second place in the Heisman vote. Okay, sure.
Right.
But it was every game. Right. It was every broadcast. This is Kenny Pickett. You remember in 2017 when Miami was 10-0 and undefeated and a game away from the... Cool.
Bro, it's 2020. We're all at home watching this. Why are we talking about the game 3 years ago?
Right. Yeah, we've been home for a year and a half already at that point, and whatever. And I just don't know why. And I get that everybody has to have their preferred paradigm, their optimal version of their system and their program and everything. But when you have this slightly altered version of your program, Narduzzi, where you actually enjoy going out there and moving the ball, getting yards and scoring points, the program is infinitely better. But you actively choose and elect to not do that out of pride? Like Scott said, does he have an ego problem or a lack of or a control issue or whatever? Look, everybody has some kind of ego. I'm not going to say that everybody should be completely selfless or whatever. Look,
guilty.
We all have egos, but you're doing that. You're literally cutting off your nose to spite your face. You're making
self-sabotage.
Your performance worse. Why?
Yeah.
I had the runner-up in the Heisman, and I won the conference, and that's not good enough. Or We didn't do it my way. Or
that was not representative
bizarre.
of Pitt football. And what we're going to do is we're going to get back to the foundations of this program. And passing the ball like that, I'm going to tell you right now, my name is not Pat Narduzzi if we're not going to not do that anymore.
And we're going to go 7-5, damn it.
That just makes me think of, like, did Addison leave because of Narduzzi? Or did he leave because of Whipple?
Oh man! Oh man! We can have
Because that boy got in the
let's
transfer
start it-
portal real quick.
Go,
all
Scott,
I'm
go.
saying.
I was gonna say, gentlemen, let's start a dialogue.
That boy hit the transfer portal about 1 week after Mark Whipple was fired. All I'm saying.
We're gonna start a dialogue. I love how when Pitt beat Virginia Tech's ass in the second half of that game about a month ago, that the prevailing thought from some Virginia Tech fans somehow, some way, came out to, oh, maybe Narduzzi knew what he was doing when he fired Mark Whipple because, oh, he knew he had those running backs who could run like he knew he had a Izzy Abanikanda that deserved more carries, and you know what? Maybe he made the right decision. Bruh, no. Virginia Tech's defense is some asshole, and that's the only reason why Izzy Abanikanda ran for 300 yards and was like setting Tony Dorsett records. Like, this is a one-off game. Like, this offense is still terrible. It was still the wrong decision to like let Whipple go. Like, you bring in Keaton Slovis and like hope he emerges as like the 4 or 5-star recruit that he was coming out of California, and he wasn't. He was bad at USC. He's been bad at Pittsburgh. Shades of Max Brown. This guy's terrible, man. Like, he's not very good. They got nothing.
good.
Yeah, Max Brown. Is that gross? Is that gross, Cam? Max Brown.
felt-
Not
that
throwback.
felt-
It's
that felt-
terrible,
that
isn't
felt
it?
bad.
What a name.
A lot of parallels there. Too. USC to Pitt, and both of them are just
But you want to know
terrible.
something else, though? All of these teams that we're talking about are going to beat Miami this year.
Oh,
Every last one.
It all comes back to Miami.
absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't always. I just wanted to let you know that I'm a Miami alum and I run a Miami website, and I just want to let you know that we're going to lose those games.
They're unequivocally
Abanikanda-
one of the 4 worst teams in the ACC. Miami,
They're so
unequivocally.
Dude, we're running out of room for people to be the 4 worst teams in the ACC. Like, there's a
Well,
lot
it's
of teams trying to
I was
get in
gonna
that
say,
club.
We're having a playoff for the bottom 4.
yeah, we're
So it's Virginia and us being Miami, and
Virginia Tech and Boston
Georgia
College.
Tech, Virginia Tech.
Oh, there's 5.
Boston College.
5 running for the bottom 4. Oh, goodness.
oh,
Louisville on certain weeks looks okay. Other weeks, they're in the running.
yeah.
Might be driving the ship. Like,
I was gonna say, what's the award going to be like if you end up like getting one of those 4 bottom of the barrel? Oh my God, is this a new segment? We have like our bottom of the barrel playoff here, like whatever.
Reseeded
we're gonna have
every
to have
week.
something to cling on to. I mean, we're gonna have to have something to cling on to when the Coastal Division is no more. You know.
Yeah.
I mean the reward. I think the reward if you're a bottom 4 team in the ACC, the reward is getting to go to Shreveport. Yeah, it's like what ends up happening.
If you
We
qualify,
like get you on a bus, you go to Shreveport, you play in the independent. You go 5-7 APR Bowl, baby. Go play in the Independence Bowl in fucking Shreveport.
God.
That's where we're going.
I think that's probably, to Scott's point, probably like numbers 5 and 6, like those who tried their hardest to get into bottom 4, but they came up just short, so they were just a little bit too good to get into that coveted bottom cadre of teams. I think that reward is the Shreveport Express visit.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, yeah.
thanks to Ev.
You
Thanks to
finish
Ev.
in like a wild card. It's like a ACC wild card spot. Like terrible.
Thanks to Evan on YouTube for saying the former DC and Narduzzi hates to see any kind of thriving offense. Very true.
That's so true. I mean,
Okay.
he did coach for D'Antonio at Michigan State, and they hated
did.
offense. So he comes from that tree.
Yes.
I try so hard to keep an open
Should
mind.
Pitt fire Pat Narduzzi?
Oh, God.
I mean, really, they should, but like they won't.
Yeah.
At least not this year.
Yeah, you can't do it this year. They didn't recently extend him or anything, did they?
I think they
Probably
did.
because everybody has to have at least the 4-year, 5-year window from where they're recruiting, just so that negative recruiting topic automatically is taken off of the table.
He
With
signed.
one
Oh God.
interesting exception.
Oh God.
Oh, wait,
Do you
wait,
want to know?
Yes.
He
Yes,
signed a
Scott,
new
please.
contract through 2030 in March of this year.
No way.
March 28th, 2022.
Listen. The best part about this is that Pat Narduzzi is only slightly better than Steve Adazio. That's the best part about this,
I was
right?
going to say Justin Fuente,
Because
but
he's
all
only
right.
slightly better. Listen. Pat Narduzzi is Steve Adazio without the off-field abuse issues, basically. He's just slightly better.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
just slightly better.
So 23rd. Oh my.
I mean, that's not even. I mean, that's just a fact. That's an indisputable
So-
fact.
Yeah.
He's a 7 or 8 game coach, 8-win coach.
So there's the one exception that I was made aware of recently, and I say I was made aware of. I was listening to Split Zone Duo. That's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. I'm a Patreon subscriber of theirs. I think they do a great job. They were talking about the Dino Babers contract recently and how he is only signed through 2024. And the question was, well, as good as they've been this year, even going into this week, they were 6-0, they're ranked, all this stuff. Like, they have to extend him, right? And the answer was, no, you don't have to. Because if you don't extend him, who's going to come get him? They've had 2 really good years in the 7 or 8 years he's been there. The whole thing of you don't have to do this to yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to create giant financial liability on your university.
The only thing that I'll say from a recruiting perspective is it does open the door for other coaches to come in and say, hey, this dude's recruiting you to Syracuse. He's only going to be there for 1, maybe 2 of your scholarship seasons. So he can't even
Cut your
tell
legs out
you
from under you, for sure.
that he's going to be there concretely because he doesn't even have a contract for when you would be, whatever, sophomore, junior, senior, whatever it is. So on that perspective, pretty exclusively, I think it makes sense to extend a coach to 4 years out. Now, obviously, you might want to put in there, information about the buyout thing. Be like, hey, the buyout's going to stay pretty consistent, or it's not going to. No Jimbo Fisher, no fully guaranteed 95 over 10, or anything like that.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah, they're regretting that, by the way. They lost again today.
They did?
And
I didn't even see that.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah, they lost South Carolina. Carolina. Oh, yeah.
Our fighting
And
Shane
that-
Beamers.
That week 3 game of Miami
getting late
and Texas
early.
A&M was Spider-Man looking at Spider-Man, and not in the way that either one of those programs would have liked or thought. Both at 3 and 4, both playing pretty poorly, and obviously by the results and everything. It's getting. Even if it is getting late early for Jimbo, they're going to pay him all of his money. So
Absolute shame.
Fully
Oil prices
guaranteed.
are what they are right now.
right.
Yep. I'm in. Gotta get that A&M oil money to buy him out, which they always find the money.
That's a hell of a banana stand, but I don't know, man. That is so much money.
They found the money for that recruiting
It's a-
classes last year. I'm telling you. But that
There it
money
is.
and the Jimbo buyout money are different kinds of money.
I know we're talking about
Yes.
money, which what I'm about to bring up doesn't equal the same thing, but contract-wise, I'm kind of trying to understand what you guys think Mike Elko might get from Duke after this season.
Ooh, that's a good
Is he
question.
gonna get a Fuente? Is he gonna get
I
a
think he
Fuente
might.
type extension, where he had a really good? He had a really good 2016. They went to the ACC championship game and they extended Fuente because they didn't want to lose him to Florida freaking State. Do you guys remember that? That was a thing.
It was.
That was a
Wait.
thing. They were worried about losing Fuente to Florida State.
That was
He was
but that
one of their
was-
top 2 or 3 candidates pre-Taggart.
Jimbo didn't leave until after 17, right?
Right, but
Right.
but
But
Virginia
the
Tech
chatter
won
was already
10,
out there
and,
because
and
he
they
was getting divorced, and there was the chatter in the fan base that they were trying to move on from Jimbo, and where are they going to look, and
so nobody's
Tech
actually
110. Tech 110.
yeah,
and
that
then they
was
won
nobody's
nine.
actually
before preempt.
interviewing
And then they were
Fuente. They're just like paranoid that he will start interviewing or whatever. Okay, all right. Well,
So
Yeah.
Witt thinks he's found the next like Beamer, LOL. So they win 10 in year 1, right? And they had like that crazy comeback in the Belk Bowl after losing it. They were like literally like 2 first downs away from beating Clemson, who won the national championship.
I was in
right?
the stadium.
So
It
they,
was a
they
good game.
came rip. And so then 2016 that happened, so it was a short-term extension for him, and then 17 they really shelled out the money for Fuente because they were worried about losing him to Florida State. That's like when the bigger contract extension happened. They extended him twice, and then that went really poorly. I mean, Duke's going to extend Elko because I'll tell you what, like Elko starts winning 8 or 9 at Duke, like he's not staying there. Like he's not going to stay at Duke. So
I mean, that guy's been.
Elko's name
a
has
climber.
been huge jobs. Yes, and his name's been mentioned in huge.
That's what I'm
huge
saying.
jobs.
Like, they're gonna have to give him money now because they know that, and so like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a good point.
I think
Like,
for him, I think he has to play Solomon and split the baby because, like, yeah, you want to get that cash now, but you also don't want to curtail your future employment opportunities. So, like, they might even offer him a bunch, and then him and his agent kind of come back and are like, can we have that? Like, you know, take that in half, or which is still a step up from where I am, but not so precipitous that like these other places won't come get me. You know,
Don't
'Cause,
cut
like-
your legs out from under yourself.
right? I mean, and let's be real. Like, yes, Duke beat Miami today. We turned the ball over 1 million times. They're better than us this year, and you know, have beaten us 3 times.
They're
in the last
still
5.
Duke.
Sure, fine. This is not a terminal job. This is not Duke basketball.
Right.
This is not a I got here and
Right.
I'm never leaving
Yeah.
this seat job.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
you know, you cannot overlook that.
well, I think we talked
it
about.
was for Cutcliffe, but we put him out to pasture years ago on this podcast. So that's whatever. But
Oh
anyways.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think Mike and Joey even talked about this when Elko got hired. I think like it's a job where you're going to leave within 3 to 5 years if you did well or less, and you're going to get fired and be like, well, you tried it, Duke. It doesn't matter. So
It's the same. It's like the Boston College job. It's like a really hard job. So like if you go there and win, you're going to be in contention elsewhere. Same with Syracuse. Like Syracuse in that category too. Remember when Syracuse won with Dino Babers? What was that year 2? Was that year 2 or year 3, Joey? When they won 10 with Dungy?
Would have been
Was that year 2 or year
3?
3 of Babers?
I think he was.
That was year
I
3
think
of
it was
Babers, right?
2015 was his first year there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would have been year 3 of Babers. Like we had the same conversation. We're like, okay, he won 10. Like if he consistently does that, then like why would Babers be staying there? Because he came over from Bowling Green. He was like he was a hot name for a P5 job that year, and he took the Syracuse one. Everybody was kind of scratching their heads, and he's still there.
wait, Mike,
But it's like one of those jobs.
you say Bowling
Yeah.
Green?
Oh yes, I
the-
did say Bowling
The
Green.
sound didn't play. That's okay. We're gonna try
Didn't
it
play
later.
to
damn.
me either.
Damn.
Next time.
We get to send more emails now to Riverside.
I will say the
God.
trajectory for Mike Elko has been astounding. I mean, in the lifespan of this podcast, right? So before we started this podcast, he was Dave Clawson's defensive coordinator at Bowling Green, and then when Clawson got hired at Wake Forest, he came with him. And then in 2017, he gets hired to be Notre Dame's defensive coordinator. 2018, he gets hired to be Jimbo's defensive coordinator at A&M. And now in 2022, he's Duke's head coach. And now in late October of 22, we're talking about, well, who else is going to come in and hire him? Like, I mean, this is a pretty astronomical trajectory that he's on. Like, and
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing is, like, the thing that continues to amaze me is, like, my expectation of Duke this year was really low. Like, they've been bad the last couple of years under Cutcliffe, and then, Britton Brown and Jake Bobo and, a few of the big playmakers they had bailed, like, transferred or graduated or whatever, and it's like, oh, this is going to be a totally, like, just desperate situation to get through 60 minutes, 12 games a year. Oh, and by the way,
Yeah.
they're going to make a bowl game now. Like, what? Like, hold on. Like,
Right.
some of the games they pulled off has been astounding.
Man, making a bowl
Yeah.
game must be nice.
Right?
I was gonna say I can't
Right?
relate.
Wouldn't
Can't
know the
relate.
feeling.
Yeah.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah.
Couldn't be my team.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
A lot of self-esteem on this podcast right now.
I mean, we have four
Facts,
people on this
though.
podcast right now, and none of them are making a bowl game. Like, none of our 3 teams are making a bowl game.
No.
Not a single one of our alma maters is gonna make a bowl game.
Tech's chance evaporated on Thursday night when Jeff Sims got hurt, and they started. Well, they stepped out of bounds instead of trying to throw a pass. Really, but
I mean,
Hey.
I'm not going to say that this is like really a brag, but I think question mark that Miami would have the best chance of our teams to potentially do it. Although, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would agree.
I don't see that as like probable, or anything, but like I guess, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami's got it together. Well, it sounds funny saying that after today. Miami's got it together enough where like all they gotta do is put like a couple solid games together. Really.
I mean, when they
well,
play
more than a couple,
Virginia
a
and
few.
Georgia Tech,
But-
somebody has to win those games. Legally,
Yeah.
you can't end those games in a tie, so somebody has to win.
Virginia Tech
then-
fans are so dumb, man. Because they're talking on Thursday night. They're like, Virginia Tech's gonna beat. They got to beat either one of these 2 teams. Like referring to Virginia and Georgia Tech. I'm like, guys, like this is the prototypical crabs in a bucket analogy that Godfrey always throws out there. Like, all of y'all terrible,
yeah.
like all bad.
Get him, Barkley.
Yeah, go get them. So yeah, like Tech, yeah, they're like, yeah, Virginia Tech should win games against these 2 teams. And then there's me, I call myself a casual observer. Why does Virginia Tech have to beat these 2 teams? Like on the basis of what? This team lost to Old Dominion. They lost by 1 million to Pitt. They lost to Miami in Blacksburg. Like that's not aging very well. Like they still got Duke on the schedule. That's not going to go well. Liberty won today with Charlie Brewer. This is going to get ugly. Like, it's going to get ugly. Like, let's not keep. They're going to lose to NC State's backup quarterback on Thursday night. Like, let's stop doing this thing.
Can he?
Like, this is insane.
Does he know how to throw a forward pass? Like, actually, are we
Does
are
it-
we sure?
Does it matter?
Okay.
Does it matter? Are we sure that Grant Wells can throw a forward pass? Like, I got questions too. You know?
And on another end of that, who's there to catch the forward pass from either of those guys? Because the receiver
NC State
group.
has a couple receivers, don't they?
I mean,
Not
there's
like
Thayer Thomas.
superstars, but look,
Thayer Thomas.
that's a name who's been what, second team or honorable mention all ACC. Like that's a damn sight more than Virginia Tech, respectfully. You know what I mean? Like if you can pull a name out and be like, oh yeah, that guy.
You don't have to be respectful. No, me disrespectfully. Virginia Tech's they got nothing in the bag offensively. They don't got anything in the bag. They got no tools Malachi Thomas is okay at running back, and Keyshawn King's okay at running back. But they're run behind a bad offensive line. Quarterback's bad. Receiving core is bad. Tight ends are bad. Like they got nothing.
And we tried to
NC
give
State's
all that.
second leading receiver is Devin Carter, and this is leading receiver yards wise.
Okay.
He has 13 catches for 194 yards and 1 touchdown on the year.
On a offense that has been predominantly led by Devin Leary for most of the season. The passing offense has kind of been ass. We haven't talked about it enough. We said, oh yeah, NC State, their offense, like with Devin Leary, it's been like, oh, it could be a little bit better. It's actually kind of been ass. It hasn't been that
bad.
good. It's
And
been
it's not
pretty
getting
bad. Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
I mean, it could
Like-
be better, obviously, but like, yeah, they went to that like supreme dink and dunk stuff, and I mean, he was accurate enough to like put the ball there, but like, you're playing the game, going back to what I said earlier about like a Jeff Garcia offense as opposed to a Jake Garcia offense. They're playing everything from 7 yards and closer to the line of scrimmage. Like they're dinking and dunking and throwing screens and like bubbles and slip screens, now screens. Like they're doing all those kind of things. They're not doing anything of any kind of vertical consequence, really.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. There aren't that many winnable games for Virginia Tech, for Miami, or for Georgia Tech at this point. I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah. Just for once, I would love it if I could blog about a really, actually, seriously good team. Right?
Yeah.
Because even in 2017, when Miami started 10-0, all that glittered was not gold. And I tried to say, that was some smoke and mirrors. That was,
Yeah.
And look,
we had a running bit. We had the running bit on this podcast because, Cam, we had you on that year like several times. We had this running bit where you would just you'd come on the pod, you'd talk a bunch of smack about how bad Notre Dame was or how bad Virginia Tech was because I kept picking against Miami. But then after after you got your jokes off, then you're like, nah, but really, this Miami team's not that good. The defense is forcing a bunch of turnovers. Offense isn't really any good. The offense can't really all bark and no bite at quarterback.
Yeah.
This is not. You were trying to warn people for months that once they played a real team,
the whole year long,
it wasn't going to go well.
And it's shades of that again because in that Pittsburgh game, that one game that Kenny Pickett had in 2017, Joe, you remember that one? Yeah, it was great. Pittsburgh just decided that one game they're going to play press man on the outside. They're going to crash to the inside zone, by bringing the linebackers in the A or B gaps, whichever one that they had identified based upon Miami's formation, and be like, we're going to play cover 2 shell over the top, and you're going to have to hit some throws. And Malik Rozier was not a very talented player and was unable to do so. But even this year, you've seen that same defense be employed by Miami opponents, and it just keeps going and going and going. And I say that to say that I've been running State of the U for a decade now, 11 years or whatever, and I'm a Miami alum. In case you guys who are listening forgot, I went there from 2004, the actual glory days and everything. So I bleed orange and green and all this stuff, and creating content. I would love the new challenge for me of a really good potential championship playoff caliber Miami team to talk about and create content about and because you can do this stuff when the teams lose, and it's in a way it's easier because you're always okay, well, this is wrong and fix this, and this is wrong and fix this, and what but I would love the challenge of a really good team to talk about. And I don't think that's too much to ask, but apparently it is because, again, even the one year that they were successful in terms of game result, they were not good. And I'm a pragmatic person, and I keep it 100. So I was, evaluating the performance and critiquing it as such, and people were very upset with me for, how in the world could you critique that 4-point that against a 3-9 Carolina team or 2-10, trailing at the half and having 78 yards of total offense. And then I'm critical of that because it took us finally dialing up a double move to Jeff Thomas on the first play of the second half. Malik Rozier triple pumped it because he couldn't believe. Okay, wait, is he? And then he threw it as far as he could. And
high school open.
Right. No, he was. Yeah, because that defender was because again, in the same way, I'm talking about with the NC State offense, when you're running everything from 10 yards and down, they're jumping everything. So you're going to run a stop route, you're going to run a spot, you're going to run out, you're going to run a curl. I'm jumping that. So when you do a hitch and go, now they've already jumped the hitch. If you go, you should be gone. And he was butt naked wide open. But winning that game eventually by 17 points against a putrid Carolina team, and I say, it should not have been that tough for 35 minutes. You can say, well, Cam, fine. Okay, we're watching different games. So, I don't know. That's my soliloquy on that.
Should have hired Jamie Chadwell.
Should have hired Lane Kiffin.
Christ.
And I wrote it in 2015. It still lives on the website. That's where the hashtag Let's Be Jerks came from. Because I said it then. And in the words of Kanye, If they hate, then let them hate and watch the money pile up. I'm telling you, dog, like, hey, that was the one.
The only thing that doesn't make sense is that Lane has never been a successful head coach in South Florida. Oh wait, no, he has. Oh, geez. Oh, geez.
Oh wait, he checked that box. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I guess he had a couple pretty good years there at FAU. All right, yeah, you're right, Cam. All right.
And look, there was plenty of chatter that he would have left Ole Miss for the Miami job this current or last cycle off season, like in the year of 2022. Like, now I know that you want a crystal ball and he's an alum and we're going to go through that and we're going to fine, cool, I'm with it. Let's make it happen. But
did you know his brother's a police officer in Miami, Cam?
Who, Lane Kiffin?
Oh my god.
No, Mario.
Oh yeah, I was like, no, that's why I was like, what? But no. But Lane Kiffin, I mean, like that was, yeah. When you have so many unconnected people saying the same thing, it has to be coming from somewhere. There was too much smoke for there not to be fire. But, and yes, I've heard that, and they're very happy that
Officer Kiffin.
the last Cristobal and Mirabal sons each can go to Miami Columbus because the dads went there. The other, like, it's it's the private school down there that, like, it's a legacy, and you go back and so like, God willing, I have children, they're going to go to Cranbrook because, like, I went to Cranbrook, private school, Michigan, and all that. But like,
fraternity
so the last
bid thing, I get it. Yeah,
year, so like, yeah, but they're finally like happy that they're back and they can do that or whatever. And I mean, that's fine. But like, I would like it if they won some games while they're here.
like one or two.
All I thought about was 8 Mile when you talked about Cranbrook. So I don't know.
No, facts. Yes, no. Every time that comes up, we hear that. My house was off of 5 Mile. My grandmother's house was at the corner of 7 Mile and Outer Drive. And if people are not familiar with the mile roads, though, every major road in a city is 1 mile apart. The east-west roads are 1 mile. They're spaced apart. So if you go down the freeway, it's like, 1 mile until Adams Street and 1 mile until da-da-da. So in Detroit, for a while, they just call them the mile roads. And going on out, you really stop calling them mile roads around 18 or 19 mile. But like, and it really starts around, Finkel is 5 Mile. That's where I lived off of. So, like, in there, the 5, 6, even though they do have other names, like 6 is McNichol, 5 is Finkel, but 7 is really where you start using the numbers pretty exclusively. Yeah.
Well, I just got educated on Detroit, so that's cool.
I learned something here. Yeah. So you grew up in Detroit, but you ended up at Miami, right?
Yes, and the same way I was talking about Zay Flowers, a private school to private school, I did go to Cranbrook. It's a private school, like literally that's my alma mater, aim high.
Okay.
And so when I was looking for colleges, I was looking for a private school of progressionally larger size, and I went to a college fair at Losser High School, which is around the corner from Cranbrook, and I saw the Miami table, and my mother had moved down here for a job my senior year of high school, so I was like, I can get in-state tuition. They're like, we're a private school, and I was like, I'm sorry, what now? They're like, the private school, and I was like, the Miami that I watched in the College World Series all the time and the one with the football, that was a private? They're like, yeah. So then I looked into it, and it was a perfect fit. And
there you go. Yippee-ki-yay. All right.
Mike, you're the cruise director. What else? Anything? Nothing? Maybe?
We've gone through a lot.
Nothing. Bedtime.
I was bedtime at almost 1:30 in the morning. Absolutely.
We are all way too old to be still awake right now.
I mean,
you didn't take your pre-show nap?
Joey's,
bro.
Yeah, Joey's now got kids plural. I have kids singular, but he's like, a 3-month-old. Yeah, nap time for me. You don't really sleep. It's nap time for me. Is basically what it is.
Yeah, okay. I will.
Extended nap.
I'm going to go to sleep, but I got to do some dishes first, and bro, it never ends.
It never ends. I'm just constantly on my feet all day. Just never ends.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I have a promise for you guys before we log off here.
I promise. It's like the LeBron tweet. I promise. In all caps. Continue.
Is that similar to the Tebow post game interview, or like how's that
After
work?
losing to a bad Ole Miss team? Yes.
The team was so bad. Was that Houston Nut Ole Miss?
Yes. And nobody's going to play harder than me. And nobody's going to... Yes, it was.
The movie Saturday Night Fever. That opening line, is that Superstition by Stevie Wonder? Am I connecting that right? I've only ever seen maybe the first 10 minutes of that movie.
We'll go with it.
It's been a long time, but I think it is.
Okay. My promise is that the next time we do this, I will have that queued up to be our intro, outro music is Superstition by Stevie Wonder for our Saturday Night Fever podcast.
Hell yeah.
Does that work?
That works.
I mean, I enjoy that song, so that'll be good.
Great.
I enjoyed that song.
Fantastic
Oh,
song.
man. One of the
Good
greatest
song.
songs
I enjoy
ever
it.
written. My God.
I
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Legend. All right, sweet. All right, I'm good. Anybody else? Anything?
Nope, I'm
Thank
good.
you for
Hey, Pitt.
allowing me to vent. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
This was therapeutic for my spirit and my soul, and I will sleep easier having gotten all of that off of my chest.
All the takes
And-
fired
and-
off.
And the one final thing I want to leave the viewers and listeners with is mostly to Pitt fans and actually Pitt boosters. Just do yourself a favor and just don't do this anymore. You don't have to do this anymore. Like
You have our support.
please fire him.
Just end this.
Like
On the other
don't
hand,
continue to do this.
I would like to say that everything is fine at Pittsburgh. You should leave it just as it is. There are
That's
no
true. Good
changes
point.
that are needed.
Leave it alone.
And we thank you for just your consistency to the kind of program that you have. And I look forward to you continuing in this same fashion for many, many years.
the commitment.
Yes.
Let's get out of here. I'm at FJS Joey on Twitter. He's at Mike McDaniel SI. He's at Underwood Sports. Together we're at BC Podcast ACC. Go find him at Severus Snipes.
Oh,
That's
God.
producer
Don't
Scott.
follow me.
Go follow him.
No.
Do it. You have to.
Don't do it.
Those are the rules. I don't make the rules.
I do.
The rules. Basketball
The rules
Conference
just right,
Podcast at
baby. Outback
gmail.com.
Steakhouse. Nailed it.
Spotify, iTunes, all the podcast places. We appreciate reviews. YouTube.
This has been streaming on YouTube for 2 hours now. Yep.
We have. If you want to find our 2-hour YouTube streams, just go subscribe to the channel. Go find Basketball Conference. We're getting close to 100 subscribers, at which point we will have a dedicated URL. Mike, where else in the social medias?
Facebook.
That's it.
Good.
Do you want me to do the whole thing?
No, that's
Nailed
good.
it.
Facebook.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
Find some of our podcasts there, baby.
The
Facebook.
longest
Good man,
social
I love
media
it.
ad known to man. Yeah. Facebook.
Facebook.
Cam, anything else that we
MySpace.
missed on advertising your stuff? MySpace, yeah, that's right.
No, stateoftheu.com is the website that I run. You can come on over and fan with us. We're all Miami all the time, so we appreciate your support. Always good to see, Mike and Joy. A pleasure to make Scott's acquaintance tonight.
Of course.
Hopefully I'll be back another time, and we will see you soon.
Yes, you will.
There is, I don't think that there is another article on the internet that is as good of a recap of Miami football games as Cam's Good, Bad, and Ugly article on State of the U after every Miami football game. So if you want to just get a quick glance of like what happened and how do we feel about it, go to stateoftheu.com after the game and check out that Good, Bad, and Ugly article. It is phenomenal, and Cam does an incredible job with it. And you get all the emotions and all the feelings with it as well. So it's the perfect encapsulation of like what happened and how do we feel about it. It couldn't be any worse. It couldn't be any better. Sorry.
Well, I appreciate it. No, that's a piece that has become like the pinnacle, I think, of post-game commentary across the Miami internet. So, I take a lot of pride in that. I could, outsource that to another contributor, but no, that's become my personal baby. So as long as I'm still running the site, I do that, and I really do appreciate that. So, but I mean, there's plenty of other great stuff there as well. But that's what we do and how we do it. And yeah, come on over and fan with us and see if it's free. And if not, I mean, like, hey, when we talk about all the games, so even if you're not a Miami fan, if you're a Duke fan, like my best friend Nick in Detroit, who I'm going to send the good, the bad, and the ugly because
Hey, Nick.
I don't know why. I do know why. He loves the color blue, and he loves the blue that Duke was. So when I was rooting for Carolina basketball, he was rooting for Duke basketball. But then he took that on as his holistic sports fandom. Whatever. So I'm going to send that to him and be like, hey, I talked about, playing your team and everything. So, and my good friend Phil went to Clemson. So after we play them, I will send that to him as well, which is going to be also full of lots of constructive criticism and feedback, I believe. But, no, I really do enjoy that. And I appreciate you guys for pumping that. I really appreciate that.
Shout out to Nick.
Shout out to Nick.
Mike, that's all I got. Anything else?
We'll be back for the full recap later.
Oh, God, we will?
I told Mike we will, so you have to be.
Dang it. I thought this
Cam
was a full
doesn't
recap.
have to be.
I might call in from the car on the way to daycare Monday morning. We'll see how that goes.
That's fine.
Show
All
in
right.
the car.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see that. Yeah. You haven't experienced me in the morning yet. It is a rough scene. I'm not a morning person, but we'll get there. All right. For Mr. Mike McDaniel, Mr. Cam Underwood, and Mr. Producer Scott, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Maybe next week on Saturday Night Fever again. We'll see what happens. Until then, go ACC.